Commander Ethan Marlowe drags himself through a canyon of blood and shrapnel. His unit is gone, his body failing. Then a figure emerges from the ruins. Not Cryax, but something older. She offers him a choice: die human or drink an alien essence and become something more. The warning echoes. If you drink this, you'll never be human again. He raises the vial. What happens when a soldier trades his humanity for the power to fight back? His boots dragged through the ash. The crimson sky pulsed with orbital strikes that never seemed to stop. Ethan Marlowe remembered leading 37 soldiers through this same canyon just hours before. Now he moved alone. Each breath came sharp and shallow. He kept one arm pressed to his side, holding torn flesh together. The other hand gripped a battered rifle. Blood made the metal slick. He focused on one rule: keep moving, find shelter, assess injuries, plan the next step. Simple priorities for when the world ended. The canyon walls rose around him like broken teeth. Shrapnel littered the ground. Some of it still smoked. Twisted metal that used to be troop carriers, personal gear, human remains. He didn't look too closely. 100 yards ahead, the White Crest Research Facility stood half-collapsed into the rock face. Its walls were pockmarked with energy weapon burns, but the main structure appeared intact. Possible shelter from Cryax patrols. He reached the shattered entrance. The air inside tasted of ozone and burned circuits. Dim emergency lighting cast long shadows across ruined equipment. Then a shadow moved against the far wall. It didn't move like Cryax, too fluid, too quiet. A figure stepped from the darkness, taller than human, with limbs that seemed to absorb the faint light, skin that shimmered like polished stone. Not human, not Cryax. I am Celine Everest, she said. Her voice held multiple tones like several people speaking at once. Last guardian of the Nixari Covenant. Ethan raised his rifle. The movement tore at his wound. His vision blurred. We share an enemy, she continued. Her eyes glowed with soft silver light. The Cryax are destroyers. They consumed my people generations ago. Now they hunt yours. She gestured toward the canyon outside. Your soldiers fought bravely, but bravery means little against their numbers. Ethan lowered the weapon slightly. His training said to distrust anything not human, but his situation said otherwise. The Cryax are merely instruments, Celine said. They serve a greater threat, a consciousness that consumes worlds, that seeks to erase all other life. She moved closer. No hostile gesture, just observation. Your species fights for survival. Mine fights for memory. Perhaps we can fight together. Ethan leaned against a broken console. The pain in his side flared. 37 soldiers gone. The sky still burned. An alien offering alliance in the ruins. The war's shape changed in that moment. Not human versus alien, but life versus consumption. The ethical math simplified to one calculation. Who wanted you erased and who might let you live? Celine watched him, waiting. The silver light in her eyes seemed to measure his worth. His potential. His choice. Outside, the sound of Cryax patrol crafts echoed through the canyon. Getting closer. Decisions needed making. Alliances needed forming. The survival of two species might depend on what happened next in this ruined facility. Celine extended her hand. A small vial rested in her palm, glowing with soft internal light. It pulsed like a living thing. The glass felt warm to the touch when she pressed it into his hand. This is the distilled essence of my people, she said. Her voice held no pride, only solemn weight. The Nixari preserve their consciousness this way when death approaches. Knowledge, memory, adaptability, all contained within. Ethan studied the liquid. It swirled with colors he couldn't name. Deep blues that shifted to silver, then glimpses of violet. The light seemed to breathe. This is not medicine, Celine warned, her silver eyes fixed on his. It will not simply heal your body. It will integrate our species. Your cells will change. Your mind will change. You will carry generations of Nixari experience within you. She paused, letting the silence emphasize her next words. If you drink this, you will never be human again. The transformation is permanent. You become something else entirely. Outside, the hum of Cryax patrols grew louder. They were methodical. They would sweep the facility soon. Ethan balanced the vial in his palm. The weight felt insignificant for something that promised so much power. He thought of his soldiers, Corporal Jenks, who'd taken a plasma burst to the chest protecting their flank. Private Val, who'd joked about getting home to see her newborn nephew. All gone now. All dust in this canyon. The Kryak ship still blotted out the sun above. Their shadow fell across the entire planet.
Humanity fought back with rifles and courage.
It wasn't enough. It would never be enough against such overwhelming force. He remembered the tactical briefings, the estimates of Kryak's numbers, the projections of human survival rates. The math had always been bleak. Now it was terminal. Ethan looked at the glowing liquid. He thought about dying here alone in the dark, his body joining the others in the canyon. Another number in the casualty reports. Then he thought about standing up, walking out of this ruin, meeting the Kryaks with something they didn't expect, something that could fight back on their level. His fingers tightened around the vial. The glass felt warmer now, almost hot against his skin. "Will it let me kill them?" he asked. His voice sounded rough, raw. Seelan inclined her head. "It will give you the knowledge to understand their weaknesses, the physical capacity to exploit them, the tactical awareness to strike where it matters most." Ethan uncorked the vial. The liquid inside glowed brighter. It smelled like ozone and something ancient. Like stone and starlight, he didn't hesitate. No grand speech. No final words. Just a soldier's simple calculation. Better to die as something that could fight back than to die as nothing at all. He raised the vial to his lips. The liquid burned before it even touched his tongue. Light flooded his vision. Sound roared in his ears. The choice was made. The transformation began. The liquid burned, going down. Not like alcohol or medicine. This was a deeper heat that spread through his throat, his chest, his veins. Ethan expected pain or healing. He got neither. He got transformation. His body convulsed. Muscles locked and released without his command. He dropped to one knee, hand gripping the broken console. The vial fell from his fingers, shattering on the metal floor. The light inside him now. Colors exploded behind his eyes. Not the spectrum he knew. Deeper violets, shifting silvers. Colors that had no human names. They pulsed with his heartbeat, each thump sending new waves of light through his vision. Sound came next. A high-frequency hum that drilled into his skull. Then lower tones that vibrated in his bones. He heard the Kryaks patrol outside, their energy weapons charging. Heard the faint hum of their ship systems. Heard things he shouldn't be able to hear at all. Then the voices started. A single whisper at first, then 10, then hundreds. Thousands of distinct consciousnesses flowering in his mind. They spoke languages made of light and mathematics. They showed him memories of crystal cities and star patterns unknown to human astronomy. He understood them. Not through translation, through integration. Their experiences became his experiences. Their knowledge settled into his mind like it had always been there. His hand went to his side. The wound that had been bleeding moments before now felt hot. He looked down. Torn flesh knitted together. Muscle fibers reformed like time running backward. Blood stopped flowing. Skin smoothed over. The pain vanished. He stood up straight. His body felt unfamiliar, stronger, lighter, more responsive. Seelan watched him. Her silver eyes showed no surprise. "The physical changes come first," she said. "The mental ones take longer to settle." She stepped closer. "Equilibrium is not automatic. You must negotiate with the voices. They will offer strategies, insights, but they are not human. Their priorities differ from yours." Ethan tried to speak. The words came out wrong. A mix of human speech and Nexari harmonics. He tried again. "How do I control this?" "You don't control it," Seelan said. "You balance it. The Nexari consciousness is a river. You can work with its current or fight against it. Fighting will exhaust you. Working with it will change you." Outside, the Kraks patrol moved closer. Their footsteps echoed through the ruined facility. 3 sets of heavy mechanical treads. Ethan's new senses mapped their positions automatically. He knew their weapon types from the sound of their power cells. Knew their patrol pattern from the rhythm of their movements. The knowledge appeared in his mind like memories he'd always possessed. His body felt perfect. No pain, no weakness, but his mind swarmed with alien thoughts. Strategies for evasion, weak points in Kryak's armor. Ways to kill that human soldiers had never imagined. The physical healing was complete. The mental transformation was just beginning. He had a new body and a new mind. But the question remained, was either one still his? 3 Kryak's Kryvac drones entered the ruined facility. Their mechanical limbs clicked against the broken concrete floor. Red sensor lights swept through the darkness. They moved in formation, covering angles, checking shadows. Standard search pattern for human survivors. Ethan should have been hiding. crawling into some dark corner to die quietly. Instead, he stood in the center of the main chamber, his breathing even, his body ready. The Nexari consciousness stirred in his mind. Knowledge surfaced without effort. He saw the drone's design flaws like blueprints overlaying his vision. Their sensor arrays had a 15-degree blind spot directly below their optical clusters. Their power conduits ran exposed along the inner thigh joints. The armor plating had microscopic fractures at the shoulder mounts from repeated weapons fire. He bent down. His hand found a broken piece of support beam, about 3 feet long, jagged at one end. Human hands would have struggled to grip it properly. His hands adjusted automatically, finding the perfect balance point. The first drone detected him. Its weapon arm rose. A low hum built as it charged its plasma cutter, standard Kryasian infantry weapon, effective against unarmored targets. Slow cycle time between shots, Ethan moved. His body responded with precision that felt both alien and natural. He didn't think about the motion. The knowledge was just there. How to step, how to pivot, how to put maximum force behind the thrust. The sharpened metal point found the gap in the drone's armor, right where the shoulder joint met the main chassis. A spot human weapons couldn't penetrate. The metal slid in smooth. Sparks erupted from the opening. The drone staggered. Its systems flickered. Then it collapsed into a heap of twitching metal. Oil and coolant leaked onto the floor. The other 2 drones adjusted their formation. Their sensors glowed brighter as they recalculated the threat. One moved left. One moved right. Standard flanking procedure. Ethan's new awareness tracked both simultaneously. He saw the timing gap between their movements. The half-second where their firing solutions wouldn't overlap. The Nexari voices whispered possibilities, angles of approach, points of vulnerability. He moved toward the drone on the right. His steps made no sound on the debris-covered floor. The drone's weapon tracked him. Too slow. He dropped under the aiming arc. The plasma burst went high, scorching the ceiling. His makeshift spear found the power conduit on the drone's inner leg. The metal pierced the shielding. Energy arced through the system. The drone convulsed. Smoke poured from its joints. It fell sideways, systems crashing. The last drone backed away. Its sensors flashed rapid patterns, calling for reinforcements, reporting an unknown threat classification. Ethan didn't give it time. He moved forward. The drone raised its weapon arm. He grabbed the arm. His grip found the weak point in the hydraulic system. Metal groaned. Components shattered. The weapon arm went limp. He looked into the drone's optical sensors. For a moment he saw his own reflection, glowing eyes and a human face. Something new, something the Kryax hadn't planned for. His hand found the main processing unit at the drone's core. One sharp impact. The casing cracked. Systems died. The facility fell silent again. 3 broken drones lay at his feet. The fight had taken less than 20 seconds. No shouting. No wasted motion. Just perfect efficiency. He looked at his hands. No blood, no strain. Just the certainty of what he'd done. What he could do. The Nexari knowledge settled deeper into his mind. Not just memories anymore. Not just voices. It was becoming part of him. The way he saw. The way he moved. The way he fought. Outside, more patrol sounds approached. Closer this time. Better armed. He picked up a fallen drone's weapon. His hands adjusted to the unfamiliar grip automatically. The weight felt right. The targeting systems made sense. He moved toward the entrance, ready for whatever came next. A hidden blast door slid open in the facility's deepest level. 23 faces looked up from makeshift bedding and ration packs. Researchers in torn lab coats, security personnel with bandaged wounds. All that remained of Whitecrest staff. Dr. Elaine Voorhees stood first. Her medical training pushed her forward automatically. "Commander Marlowe, we thought your unit was lost in the canyon." Her eyes scanned his condition. The lack of blood on his uniform. The wound that should have been fatal now completely gone. Then she saw his eyes, the faint silver light where human iris should be. The way he stood too still, moved too smoothly. "Something's different," she said quietly. Not to him. To the armed guards behind her. 2 security personnel raised their rifles. Their hands shook slightly. They'd seen Kryax impersonators before, shapeshifters that looked human until they didn't. Seelan stepped from the shadows behind Ethan. Her appearance caused more weapons to rise. A 7-foot alien with stone-like skin didn't inspire trust. "Lower your weapons," Ethan said. His voice held dual tones now. Human speech layered with something older. She's not the enemy. Seelan's silver eyes scanned the survivors. The commander carries the essence of my people. The Nexari preserved their consciousness within him. He is now a living repository of generations of knowledge. A young researcher spoke from the back. What does that mean? Repository? It means I understand the Kryax now, Ethan said. Their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses. He pointed to the security guards' rifles. Those won't stop a Krivak patrol, but I know what will. The survivors watched him with mixed expressions. Fear, hope, disgust. They represented what humanity had become. Cornered, desperate but still stubbornly alive. Dr. Voorhees approached slowly. Her medical scanner beeped erratically when she pointed it at Ethan. Your cellular structure? It's reading as non-human. Your neural activity shows patterns I've never seen. She looked from Ethan to Seelan. What did you do to him? He chose this, Seelan said. The alternative was death. Now he offers you a chance to survive. The debate began quietly at first, whispers in the back, then louder. He's not one of us anymore, a security guard said. How do we know he's not controlled by them? Another researcher countered. He just took out 3 drones alone. We've been hiding down here for 2 days. Maybe we need what he has. Ethan listened to both sides. The Nexari consciousness offered analysis of each speaker's psychological state, their fears, their potential usefulness. The information arrived unbidden, clinical and detached. We need to reach the Razorback Mountains, Ethan said. The resistance there has communications equipment. We can warn them about the Kryax mobilization patterns. Dr. Voorhees studied his face, looking for the man she'd briefly met during the facility's security briefing. And you can get us there? Through Kryax patrols. Through that? She gestured upward toward the crimson sky. I know their patrol routes, their sensor blind spots, the terrain they avoid. Ethan's voice held absolute certainty. I can get 23 people to the mountains. The security team lowered their weapons slowly. Not from trust, from necessity. The calculation was simple. Die in this bunker or follow the transformed commander into the wasteland. They began gathering supplies. Medical kits, rations, weapons scavenged from fallen colleagues. Each person watched Ethan when they thought he wasn't looking, studying the way he moved, the way his eyes caught the light, the unfamiliar cadence of his speech. They were placing their lives in the hands of something not quite human. Something that held alien knowledge in a human-shaped vessel. The ethical questions would have to wait. Survival came first. The third night found them in a narrow ravine, moving single file through absolute darkness. No moon pierced the crimson haze above. The only light came from Kryax patrol ships sweeping the high ground. Ethan led the group with silent hand signals. His new senses mapped the terrain without need for light. During the days they hid, caves, ruined buildings, any cover that blocked thermal scans. The 23 survivors huddled together. They spoke in whispers. They watched their commander. On the third morning, in the faint light of their hiding place, Dr. Voorhees looked at Ethan's face. Your eyes, she said quietly. They're different. Ethan found a cracked piece of monitoring equipment. His reflection showed faint silver light where his irises should be. The glow pulsed softly in time with his heartbeat. Not obvious in full light, unmistakable in shadows. Seelan watched from across the cramped space. The integration continues, she said. Your cells restructure themselves. Your nervous system adapts to handle Nexari consciousness. The changes will not stop here. The voices in his mind had grown louder. What began as whispers now spoke with clear authority. They offered constant tactical assessments. They calculated risks he hadn't considered. They noticed details human senses missed. When he planned their route, the Nexari consciousness suggested alternatives. Faster paths, safer approaches, ways that felt alien to human thinking. Once, it insisted they wait 3 extra hours for a patrol pattern to repeat. The delay saved them from walking into an ambush. His human instincts fought the alien guidance. The urge to move faster, to take obvious routes, to trust human intuition over cold calculation. Each decision became a negotiation between what felt right and what the voices knew. The equilibrium Seelan mentioned required constant effort, like holding 2 opposing currents in balance. The Nexari consciousness pressed forward with logical certainty. His humanity pulled back with emotional weight. Memories of his soldiers, the feel of human fear, the value of individual life. During a rest break, he found himself analyzing the survivors as assets. Their nutritional needs, their walking speed, their combat effectiveness. The assessment came automatically, clinical, efficient. Then his human mind recoiled. These were people, not resources. He caught himself speaking with dual tones again. Human words layered with Nexari harmonics. The survivors noticed. They exchanged uneasy glances. Dr. Voorhees began writing observations in her medical journal, documenting the changes. The journey continued through Incree Haven Ridge rose from the ash-covered plains like a fortress carved from the mountainside. Reinforced walls 30 feet high, energy shielding that flickered under Kryax orbital scans. The last major settlement in the region, and it felt every bit as vulnerable as it looked. Patrols moved along the ramparts with tired precision. Everyone knew this place wouldn't hold against a determined assault. Colonel Rebecca Hayes met them at the inner gate. Her uniform showed recent repairs. Her eyes missed nothing. She looked past the 23 survivors straight at Ethan. "Commander Marlowe, your unit was declared lost." The canyon was glassed. Her voice held no welcome, only assessment. She led them to a command bunker carved into the mountain. Maps covered the walls. Red markers showed Kryax positions. Too many red markers. Hayes turned to Ethan. "Report, everything, starting with how you survived when no one else did." Ethan explained the ruined facility. The Nexari essence, the transformation. Hayes' expression didn't change, but her hand tightened on the map table. When he described the physical changes, her eyes went to his silver-lit irises. When he mentioned the voices in his mind, her jaw tightened. Seelan stepped forward. "The commander carries generations of Nexari knowledge, battle strategies, weapons data, Kryax technological weaknesses. Your enemy destroyed my people generations ago. We understand them in ways you cannot." Hayes looked from Seelan to Ethan. The calculation in her eyes was pure military pragmatism. "Can you use what you know?" "Not just for survival, for offense." Ethan pointed to the largest red marker on the map. The Harbinger-class vessel in high orbit. It's not just a warship. It's a neural command center. It coordinates all Kryax operations in this sector. Take it down and their entire network fragments. Hayes studied him. "Humanity's survival balances on using what we fear to understand." "I don't like this. I don't trust it. But I'll use it." She turned to her officers. "Weapons check. Patrol rotations. I want everyone combat ready in 12 hours. The planning session lasted through the night. Ethan provided details no human should know. Harbinger shield frequencies, neural link synchronization patterns, structural weaknesses in the command spire. The resistance officers listened with growing amazement and unease. They were placing their defense in the hands of something not quite human. Trust remained conditional. Hayes assigned 2 guards to watch Ethan at all times. Not overtly, but they were there. Everyone understood the arrangement. Useful until proven otherwise. An asset until it became a threat. The final plan took shape. Synchronized strikes during the Harbinger's neural link establishment window, a precise moment when the vessel's systems would be most vulnerable. Ground forces would create a diversion. Space-capable fighters would make the main assault. Everything depended on timing, on coordination, on Ethan's alien knowledge being accurate. Hayes looked at the finalized plans. "If this works, we might actually survive the next attack. If it doesn't..." She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what failure meant. The Harbinger's weapons could reduce Haven Ridge to molten rock in minutes. The last human stronghold would become another scar on a dead world. The countdown began. Teams moved into position. Weapons were charged. Ships were fueled. Everyone watched the sky, waiting for the blue pulse that would signal the Harbinger's neural link initiation, the moment when they would either win or die. The Harbinger hung in high orbit like a dark star. From the ground, it looked like another threat. Another warship. But Ethan's Nexari memories knew better. They showed him the truth. Colonel Hayes studied the orbital display. Red dots represented Kryax forces. They moved with perfect coordination. No delays, no confusion. "They react too fast," she said. "Like they share one mind." "They do," Ethan said. His voice held that dual tone again. Human words layered with alien certainty. The Harbinger isn't just a ship. It's a neural command center. Every Cryax unit links to it. Every drone. Every soldier. They don't think for themselves. They receive commands. Hayes looked from the screen to Ethan. The implications settled coldly. You couldn't defeat an army that fought as one mind. You had to break the mind itself. The plan formed around that weakness. A single, precise strike during the neural link establishment. The moment when the Harbinger synchronized with its ground forces. A window of vulnerability measured in seconds. When they established their link to the Harbinger, synchronizing is critical, Ethan said. He pointed to the display. Blue pulses would mark the synchronization sequence. A visual countdown to their only chance. The operation split into 3 parts. A diversionary attack to draw Cryax forces into the open. Space-capable fighters to hit the Harbinger's command spire. Ground teams to eliminate local command units simultaneously. Precision mattered more than power. A well-placed strike during synchronization could cascade through the entire network. Disrupt the flow of commands. Create confusion where there had been perfect order. The resistance prepared. Pilots studied attack vectors. Ground teams rehearsed their timing. Everyone knew the stakes. Miss the window and the Harbinger would wipe Haven Ridge from existence. Ethan's Nixari knowledge provided the critical details. The exact frequency of the neural link. The structural weakness in the command spire. The timing of the synchronization pulse. Information no human scout could have obtained. Hayes watched the preparations. Her face showed the weight of command. We're basing everything on alien memories, she said to Ethan. If you're wrong. I'm not wrong, Ethan said. The certainty in his voice wasn't human confidence. It was Nixari knowledge, generations of experience against the Cryax. The memories felt like his own now. The countdown began. Scouts reported the first blue pulses in the sky, the Harbinger initiating its synchronization sequence. The window would last 90 seconds. Enough time to change everything, or to die trying. Fighters launched into the crimson sky. Their engines left trails of fire against the darkness. Ground teams moved into position. Weapons charged. Sensors tracked the approaching Cryax forces. The diversionary attack began. Explosions lit up the western plains. Cryax units redirected toward the disturbance. Perfectly predictable. Perfectly according to plan. The blue pulses grew brighter. The synchronization reached its peak. The neural link would be at its most vulnerable. The moment when disruption would spread through the entire network. Ethan watched from the command bunker. His silver-lit eyes tracked the patterns in the sky. The Nexari voices in his mind whispered adjustments, last-minute corrections to targeting solutions, improvements to timing. The lead fighter squadron reached attack position. Their weapons locked on the Harbinger's command spire. The ground team sighted on local command units. Everything aligned. The trap was set. The perfect strike against an overwhelming force. The blue pulse reached its brightest point. The synchronization peak. The moment when one well-placed attack could collapse an entire army's command structure. The order came. A single word over the comms. Execute. The sky erupted with weapons fire. Ground explosions tore through Cryax formations. The Harbinger's spire flashed under concentrated attack. The neural network shuddered. For the first time since the invasion began, the Cryax forces hesitated. Their perfect coordination fractured. The single mind had been struck singly difficult terrain. Steep climbs, narrow passes, places where one wrong step meant a fatal fall. Ethan's new abilities kept them safe. He detected unstable rock before it crumbled. He knew exactly where to place his feet. The others followed his path exactly, but with each mile the balance grew harder to maintain. The Nexari consciousness offered perfect solutions to survival problems. Solutions that sometimes disregarded human comfort, human fear, human limitations. He led them through the night, his silver-lit eyes seeing what others couldn't, his mind filled with voices that knew too much, his body changing in ways no one could predict. The transformation wasn't stopping. It was deepening. And the real question wasn't whether he could keep them alive, but what would be left of him when they reached safety. Haven Ridge rose from the ash-covered plains like a fortress carved from the mountainside. Reinforced walls 30 feet high, energy shielding that flickered under Cryax orbital scans, the last major settlement in the region, and it felt every bit as vulnerable as it looked. Patrols moved along the ramparts with tired precision. Everyone knew this place wouldn't hold against a determined assault. Colonel Rebecca Hayes met them at the inner gate. Her uniform showed recent repairs. Her eyes missed nothing. She looked past the 23 survivors straight at Ethan. "Commander Marlowe, your unit was declared lost." The canyon was glassed. Her voice held no welcome, only assessment. She led them to a command bunker carved into the mountain. Maps covered the walls. Red markers showed Cryax positions. Too many red markers. Hayes turned to Ethan. "Report everything, starting with how you survived when no one else did." Ethan explained the ruined facility. The Nexari essence, the transformation. Hayes' expression didn't change, but her hand tightened on the map table. When he described the physical changes, her eyes went to his silver-lit irises. When he mentioned the voices in his mind, her jaw tightened. Seelan stepped forward. "The commander carries generations of Nexari knowledge. Battle strategies, weapons data, Cryax technological weaknesses. Your enemy destroyed my people generations ago. We understand them in ways you cannot." Hayes looked from Seelan to Ethan. The calculation in her eyes was pure military pragmatism. "Can you use what you know? Not just for survival. For offense." Ethan pointed to the largest red marker on the map. The Harbinger-class vessel in high orbit. "It's not just a warship. It's a neural command center. It coordinates all Cryax operations in this sector. Take it down and their entire network fragments." Hayes studied him. "Humanity's survival balances on using what we fear to understand. I don't like this. I don't trust it. But I'll use it." She turned to her officers. "Weapons check. Patrol rotations. I want everyone combat ready in 12 hours. The planning session lasted through the night." Ethan provided details no human should know. Harbinger shield frequencies, neural link synchronization patterns, structural weaknesses in the command spire. The resistance officers listened with growing amazement and unease. They were placing their defense in the hands of something not quite human. Trust remained conditional. Hayes assigned 2 guards to watch Ethan at all times. Not overtly, but they were there. Everyone understood the arrangement. Useful until proven otherwise. An asset until it became a threat. The final plan took shape. Synchronized strikes during the Harbinger's neural link establishment window, a precise moment when the vessel's systems would be most vulnerable. Ground forces would create a diversion. Space-capable fighters would make the main assault. Everything depended on timing, on coordination, on Ethan's alien knowledge being accurate. Hayes looked at the finalized plans. "If this works, we might actually survive the next attack. If it doesn't..." She didn't finish the sentence. They all knew what failure meant. The Harbinger's weapons could reduce Haven Ridge to molten rock in minutes. The last human stronghold would become another scar on a dead world. The countdown began. Teams moved into position. Weapons were charged. Ships were fueled. Everyone watched the sky, waiting for the blue pulse that would signal the Harbinger's neural link initiation, the moment when they would either win or die. The Harbinger hung in high orbit like a dark star. From the ground, it looked like another threat, another warship. But Ethan's Nexari memories knew better. They showed him the truth. Colonel Hayes studied the orbital display. Red dots represented Cryax forces. They moved with perfect coordination. No delays, no confusion. "They react too fast," she said. "Like they share one mind." "They do," Ethan said. His voice held that dual tone again. Human words layered with alien certainty. The Harbinger isn't just a ship. It's a neural command center. Every Cryax unit links to it. Every drone. Every soldier. They don't think for themselves. They receive commands. Hayes looked from the screen to Ethan. The implications settled coldly. You couldn't defeat an army that fought as one mind. You had to break the mind itself. The plan formed around that weakness. A single precise strike during the neural link establishment. The moment when the Harbinger synchronized with its ground forces. A window of vulnerability measured in seconds. When they established their link to the Harbinger, synchronizing is critical, Ethan said. He pointed to the display. Blue pulses would mark the synchronization sequence. A visual countdown to their only chance. The operation split into 3 parts. A diversionary attack to draw Cryax forces into the open. Space-capable fighters to hit the Harbinger's command spire. Ground teams to eliminate local command units simultaneously. Precision mattered more than power. A well-placed strike during synchronization could cascade through the entire network. Disrupt the flow of commands. Create confusion where there had been perfect order. The resistance prepared. Pilots studied attack vectors. Ground teams rehearsed their timing. Everyone knew the stakes. Miss the window and the Harbinger would wipe Haven Ridge from existence. Ethan's Nexari knowledge provided the critical details. The exact frequency of the neural link, the structural weakness in the command spire, the timing of the synchronization pulse, information no human scout could have obtained. Hayes watched the preparations. Her face showed the weight of command. "We're basing everything on alien memories," she said to Ethan. "If you're wrong—" "I'm not wrong," Ethan said. The certainty in his voice wasn't human confidence. It was Nexari knowledge. Generations of experience against the Kryax. The memories felt like his own now. The countdown began. Scouts reported the first blue pulses in the sky, the Harbinger initiating its synchronization sequence. The window would last 90 seconds. Enough time to change everything. Or to die trying. Fighters launched into the crimson sky. Their engines left trails of fire against the darkness. Ground teams moved into position. Weapons charged. Sensors tracked the approaching Kryax forces. The diversionary attack began. Explosions lit up the western plains. Kryax units redirected toward the disturbance. Perfectly predictable. Perfectly according to plan. The blue pulses grew brighter. The synchronization reached its peak. The neural link would be at its most vulnerable. The moment when disruption would spread through the entire network. Ethan watched from the command bunker. His silver-lit eyes tracked the patterns in the sky. The Nexari voices in his mind whispered adjustments. Last-minute corrections to targeting solutions. Improvements to timing. The lead fighter squadron reached attack position. Their weapons locked on the Harbinger's command spire. The ground team sighted on local command units. Everything aligned. The trap was set. The perfect strike against an overwhelming force. The blue pulse reached its brightest point. The synchronization peak. The moment when one well-placed attack could collapse an entire army's command structure. The order came. A single word over the comms. Execute. The sky erupted with weapons fire. Ground explosions tore through Kryax formations. The Harbinger's spire flashed under concentrated attack. The neural network shuddered. For the first time since the invasion began, the Kryax forces hesitated. Their perfect coordination fractured. The single mind had been struck. Explosives tore through the Kryax forward positions. Concussion blasts sent mechanical limbs flying. Smoke and dust clouded the battlefield. Ethan moved through the chaos with unnatural calm. His diversionary team hit the eastern flank hard. Lieutenant Julia Reyes provided covering fire from the ridgeline above. Her sniper rifle cracked methodically. Each shot found a sensor cluster or power connection. Dr. Voorhees led the civilian extraction under the western cliffs. 23 researchers and staff moved in a tight group. They kept low behind whatever cover they could find. Kryax energy weapons scorched the ground around them. Security personnel returned fire with limited effect. Their rifles barely scratched the heavy units. The plan hinged on a single shot from the mountain artillery. A captured Kryax energy cannon modified for one massive discharge. It targeted the neural core deep within the Harbinger's command spire. The weapon required perfect alignment. Perfect timing. Ethan knocked another arrow to his compound bow. Human weapons felt inadequate against Kryax armor. But his arrows found gaps others couldn't see. The Nexari knowledge showed him exactly where to aim. One arrow pierced a heavy unit's cooling vent. The machine overheated and shut down. Another found the weak point in a drone's optical sensor. It staggered blind into its comrades. The battlefield geometry shifted constantly. Kryax units adapted their formations. Ethan's mind processed the changes instantly. The Nexari consciousness provided alternative strategies. New angles of attack. Ways to use the terrain against a technologically superior enemy. He signaled his team to fall back. They moved through a narrow canyon. The Kryax pursuit funneled into the tight space, perfect for ambush. Reyes' sniper fire picked off the lead units. Explosives took out the rear. The trap worked exactly as planned. Above them, the Harbinger's blue pulse grew brighter. The synchronization moment approached. The neural link would be at its most vulnerable. The energy cannon crew made final adjustments. Their targeting computer aligned with the spire's core. Ethan felt the timing through the Nexari connection. The pulse rhythm matched patterns in his mind. He knew exactly when the cannon should fire, knew the second the neural network would be most exposed. The cannon discharged. A beam of pure energy lanced upward. It struck the Harbinger's command spire. The impact flashed silent in the vacuum of space. Then the effects rippled downward. Cryak's units on the ground faltered. Their movements became jerky, uncoordinated. The perfect synchronization broke. Command nodes collapsed one after another. The network fragmented into isolated units. The resistance forces pressed their advantage. Ground teams attacked the confused Cryak's formations. Fighters harried the disoriented patrol ships. The Harbinger's control weakened by the second. Ethan watched the changing battle. His diversion had worked. The civilians reached the extraction point. The energy cannon had fired true. The neural network was crumbling, but the Harbinger remained operational. Damaged but not destroyed. Its weapons still charged. Its command system strained to re-establish control. The battle wasn't over, just entering a new phase. The blue pulse flickered erratically. The synchronization attempted to restart. The neural network tried to heal itself. The resistance had minutes at most before the Cryaks regained coordination. Ethan knocked another arrow. His silver eyes scanned the shifting battlefield. The risk had been taken. The shot had been made. Now they would see if it was enough. A figure stepped from the smoke of the burning Cryak's lines, tall like Ethan, moving with the same unnatural grace. Silver light glowed where his eyes should be, but his uniform was torn UEDF issue. The patches identified him as Commander Arkin, missing in action 6 months ago during the fall of the Northern Territories. Arkin studied Ethan with recognition. Not of the man, but of what he'd become. "We draw from the same source," he said. His voice held the same dual tones. Human words layered with Nexari harmonics. Different lineages, same essence. "We are becoming the same thing." The battlefield fell silent around them. Cryak's units held position, waiting, their programming uncertain how to handle 2 transformed humans. Ethan saw the differences immediately. Arkin's movements showed less control, more aggression. His silver eyes burned brighter, more dominant. The Nexari consciousness in him felt louder, more demanding. "They captured me during the Northern Campaign," Arkin said. "The Cryaks had their own Nexari essence, stolen during their purge of my lineage. They forced the integration, enhanced it with their technology, made me a weapon." His hand flexed. The fingers seemed to shimmer with contained energy. Ethan kept his bow ready. "I remember being human," he said. The words felt important, fundamental. Arkin smiled. A cold expression with too many teeth. The memory fades. The power remains. They showed me that. The Cryaks don't just want to destroy us. They want to improve us, make us efficient. Remove the weakness. The contrast became painfully clear. Ethan had chosen transformation to preserve humanity. Arkin had been transformed to erase it. Same power, different purposes, different anchors. "The Harbinger has a final protocol," Arkin warned. "If you overextend your connection to the Nexari consciousness, if you try to project into their systems, the feedback will weaponize the essence against you. It will burn out your human anchor, leave you empty, a vessel for pure Nexari thought, not as yourself anymore." The warning settled between them, not a threat, a fact. The risk of fully embracing the power they both carried. Ethan watched Arkin's posture, the way he stood slightly off balance, the aggression in his movements. The Nexari consciousness dominated him completely. His human side had been subdued, maybe destroyed. "You could join us," Arkin said. "The integration is inevitable. Why fight it? Together we could reshape what humanity becomes, make it stronger, better." Ethan shook his head. "I fight to preserve what we are, not to create something new." The 2 commanders faced each other, mirror images of the same terrible choice. One made willingly to save others, one forced to create a weapon. The same transformation, different paths, different outcomes. Arkin's expression shifted. The human glimmer vanished completely. Pure Nexari calculation remained. "Then you will be removed. The Harbinger's protocol awaits your attempt to stop it. Your humanity will be your weakness." He turned and walked back into the smoke. The Cryak's units followed him. The momentary pause in the battle ended. Ethan stood alone for a moment. The confrontation clarified everything. The transformation wasn't the danger. The loss of choice was. The surrender of what made them human. He still had that choice, that anchor. Arkin had lost his. The battle would continue. The Harbinger still threatened Haven Ridge. The final risk remained. To stop the mothership, he might have to become exactly what Arkin warned against. The choice would be his. Not the Cryaxes, not the Nexaris. His alone, Haven Ridge prepared for evacuation. Civilians moved toward the mountain tunnels. Soldiers formed defensive lines. The air hummed with tension and the sound of energy weapons charging. Above them, the Harbinger's weapons glowed brighter. The firing sequence had begun. Final target acquisition. They had minutes at most. Ethan stood watching the display screens. The Harbinger's energy readings climbed toward critical. He remembered Arkin's warning. The final protocol. If he fully projected his consciousness into the neural command center, the feedback might erase him. Not just kill him, erase what made him Ethan Marlowe, not as yourself. The words echoed in his mind. The price of disrupting the firing sequence might be his identity. The last fragments of his humanity. He calculated the numbers. 2,300 civilians in Haven Ridge, soldiers, medical staff, children, against one man's sense of self. The math was brutally simple. The kind of calculation commanders made every day in this war. The Nexari essence offered the power to stop the Harbinger. But using it fully meant complete integration. Letting the alien consciousness overwhelm his human anchor, becoming a vessel for pure Nexari thought, a tool rather than a person. His human core fought against the necessity. Memories surfaced. His first command. The smell of rain on freshly turned earth. The sound of human laughter. Simple things that defined a life. Things the Nexari consciousness considered irrelevant data. The choice became his final anchor. The one thing the transformation couldn't take unless he allowed it. His humanity persisted not in his cells or his mind, but in his decisions, what he chose to protect, what he chose to sacrifice. He turned to Colonel Hayes. I can disrupt the firing sequence, but there's a cost. I might not be the same after. Hayes studied his face, the silver light in his eyes, the unnatural stillness of his posture. What kind of cost? The Nexari consciousness could overwhelm me. I might lose myself. The words felt inadequate. How do you explain the erasure of a personality? Hayes looked at the evacuation efforts. The families moving toward the tunnels. The soldiers preparing to die, covering their retreat. We need more time. If you can give us that. Ethan nodded. He didn't need her to finish the sentence. The calculation was made. Thousands of lives against one man's identity. No commander could choose differently. He found a quiet corner of the command bunker, sat on the cold floor, closed his eyes. The Nexari consciousness stirred in his mind. Ready, waiting, eager to fulfill its purpose. He reached for it deliberately, not letting it flow through him as before, inviting it fully. Embracing the transformation he'd been resisting since the canyon. The voices grew louder, thousands of Nexari minds merging with his, their memories, their knowledge, their way of thinking. It flooded through him like a rising tide. He felt his human memories receding, becoming distant, less immediate, less real. The feeling terrified him. The loss of self. The surrender of everything that made him who he was. But beneath the fear, a certainty remained. This was his choice. Not the Cryaxes, not the Nexaris. His, a human decision to sacrifice for others. That anchor held. He focused on the Harbinger's neural patterns. Let the Nexari consciousness guide him, felt his awareness expanding beyond the bunker, beyond the mountain, into the vacuum of space, toward the massive vessel preparing to destroy everything he'd fought to protect. The transformation completed. Ethan Marlowe became something else. Something more. Something that might save Haven Ridge but might not remember why it mattered. The Harbinger's weapons glowed white-hot. Energy built toward the firing sequence that would erase Haven Ridge from the mountain. Below, evacuation tunnels remained half full. Not enough time. Ethan closed his eyes in the command bunker, let his consciousness expand beyond the physical. The Nexari essence flowed through him like a river breaking its banks. Thousands of voices rose in unison. Their collective knowledge became his senses. Their memories became his map. He navigated alien thought patterns that felt both foreign and familiar. Cryax control systems unfolded before his awareness like complex machinery. He saw the firing sequence calculations, the target coordinates. The energy allocation system's psychic feedback hit him like a physical blow. The Harbinger's defenses recognized the intrusion. Energy surged back through the connection. It threatened to burn away his human anchoring points. The memories that made him Ethan. The feelings that made him human. He grasped for solid ground. Remembered Corporal Jenks taking the plasma burst for the unit. Private Val's jokes about her nephew. The smell of rain on soil. Simple human things. They became anchors in the storm of alien consciousness. He focused on the targeting systems. Forced the Harbinger to recalculate. Introduced errors into the firing solution. Diverted energy from the main weapons to secondary systems. The massive vessel shuddered as its power distribution shifted. Structural stresses cascaded through the command spire. Conduits overloaded. Cooling systems failed. The neural network faltered under the conflicting commands. The perfect synchronization fractured into chaos. On the ground, the blue pulse in the sky flickered. The rhythmic light that marked the neural link became erratic, unstable. The Kryax ground forces moved with less coordination. Their attacks lost precision. The Harbinger's systems assessed the damage, calculated the risk of continued engagement. The logic was cold and efficient. Further combat operations posed unacceptable risk to primary command functions. Retreat protocols activated. The massive ship began to disengage. Weapons powered down. The blue pulse faded completely. Orbital synchronization broke. The neural network went silent. On the ground, the remaining Kryax units became confused, isolated. Without the Harbinger's guidance, they operated on basic programming. Easy targets for the resistance fighters. Haven Ridge stood intact. The evacuation paused. People looked at the sky in disbelief. The threat had vanished. The impossible had happened. Ethan opened his eyes. The command bunker felt small, distant. His body seemed like a temporary vessel. His awareness stretched beyond the room, beyond the mountain. He could feel the stars, the void between them. The Nexari consciousness had settled deep into his mind. No longer separate voices, part of his own thoughts. He remembered why he'd done this. The people outside, the lives saved. That memory felt human. The calculation that followed felt Nexari. The strategic advantage gained. The knowledge acquired, he stood up. His movements remained precise. His eyes glowed steadily. The transformation had deepened, become more complete. But something of Ethan Marlowe remained. Not unchanged, not untouched. But present, the choice to sacrifice had preserved a fragment of his humanity. The reason behind the action became the anchor. The why mattered more than the what. He had saved them. That still felt like something a human would do. Haven Ridge stood silent in the aftermath. The crimson sky slowly faded to a bruised purple. No more orbital strikes. No more energy weapons firing. People emerged from the tunnel slowly. They looked at the sky as if expecting the attack to resume. It didn't. The Harbinger was gone. Ethan walked from the command bunker. His movements remained precise. His eyes glowed with steady silver light. The survivors watched him pass. Their expressions mixed gratitude with unease. He had saved them. But what stood before them wasn't quite the commander they remembered. Seelan approached him. Her stone-like skin seemed to absorb the fading light. "You have done more than defend this place," she said. Her multi-toned voice held something like respect. "You have built a bridge between our species. The Nexari knowledge now serves human survival. This changes everything." The transformation's consequences became apparent in small ways. When Ethan spoke, his words carried extra harmonics. When he moved, his efficiency seemed unnatural. His human core remained, but expanded. Stretched by the thousands of consciousnesses now sharing his mind, Colonel Hayes approached him. Her uniform showed dust and sweat from the evacuation efforts. "We need to talk about what comes next," she said. Her eyes studied his face. Looking for the man she'd known. "That knowledge in your head, we need it. All of it." She gestured toward the training grounds where new recruits practiced with outdated weapons. "Train others. Teach us what you know about the Kryax, their weaknesses, their patterns, how to fight them without becoming something else." Ethan nodded. The motion felt both human and alien. "I can share tactical doctrines, structural vulnerabilities, patrol patterns, but the transformation carries risks." His voice held dual tones, human concern layered with Nexari practicality. The essence changes more than the body. It changes how you think, how you see the world. The risk of losing yourself is real. Hayes considered this. Her eyes moved over the scarred settlement, the people beginning to believe they might survive. "We'll take the knowledge. not the transformation. Distributed intelligence. Shared tactics. That's how we fight back. Ethan agreed to train resistance fighters, to create manuals of Cryak's weaknesses, to develop strategies based on Nexari experience. But he insisted on safeguards. No attempts to replicate the essence. No seeking the power without understanding the cost. His human anchor held through memory. The feeling of rain on his face as a child. The sound of his soldiers' laughter. The weight of command decisions. These became his compass in the expanding consciousness. The war's nature shifted that day. No longer pure desperation. Now strategic defense. Human ingenuity combined with alien knowledge. A new way to fight. A new way to survive. Ethan looked toward the mountains where the Cryaks would regroup. His silver eyes saw further than human eyes could. His mind understood more than any human should. But his choices remained human. His reasons remained human. That difference mattered. The victory saved Haven Ridge, but the cost continued. The transformation didn't stop. It deepened, evolved. The bridge between species stood strong, but the toll on the man who built it remained to be seen. Humanity's war against the Cryak shifted after Haven Ridge. Survival meant more than just enduring attacks. It meant understanding the enemy, adapting to their methods, fighting smarter, not just harder. Ethan stood at the center of this change. His mind held generations of Nexari knowledge about the Cryaks, battle strategies, technological weaknesses, psychological patterns, information that could turn the tide of the war. But he carried it at a personal cost that few understood. He began training resistance fighters in the mountain base. His teaching methods were direct, practical. He showed them how to identify command units by their energy signatures, how to exploit the half-second delay in their targeting systems, how to use terrain to counter their technological advantage. The training came with warnings. He made sure every soldier understood the difference between using knowledge and seeking transformation. This information came from a source that changes you, he told them. His silver eyes made the point more clearly than words ever could. Learn what I teach. Don't seek how I learned it. He developed new combat doctrines, ways to fight that didn't require Nexari essence, tactics based on Cryak sensory limitations, strategies that used their predictable patterns against them. Human ingenuity combined with alien experience to create something new, something effective. The changes extended beyond military tactics. Engineers studied the weaknesses Ethan revealed. They modified weapons to target specific Cryak system vulnerabilities. Communications specialists developed jamming techniques based on neural link frequencies. Everyone worked with better information, better understanding. A shift occurred in the settlement's culture. People began thinking in terms of adaptation rather than mere endurance. They stopped seeing themselves as victims waiting for the next attack. They became problem solvers, innovators. The bridge between species offered more than survival. It offered a path forward. Ethan's role evolved into something unique. Part strategist, part warning. His very presence showed what knowledge could achieve and what it could cost. His silver eyes and precise movements served as constant reminders. Power had a price. Victory required sacrifice. He worked with Dr. Voorhees to document everything. They created training manuals, tactical guides, technical specifications, all based on Nexari knowledge but designed for human use. The information spread to other settlements through risky courier runs. The distributed intelligence network began taking shape. His humanity persisted through choice rather than biology. He consciously held on to human connections, shared meals with the soldiers, listened to their stories, remembered their names. These small acts became his anchor against the expanding alien consciousness. The physical changes continued subtly. His skin developed a faint iridescence in certain light. His thought processes became increasingly efficient, but less emotional. He felt the Nexari consciousness integrating deeper into his fundamental being. The transformation was becoming complete. He knew the Kryaks would return, stronger, adapted to the new tactics. The war was far from over, but humanity now had tools they lacked before, knowledge they hadn't possessed. A fighting chance that didn't require sacrificing what made them human. The price he paid remained personal. The loss of simple human experience. The quiet moments that had defined his life before the transformation. The feeling of being just a man rather than a repository of alien knowledge. These were the costs not visible on any report. the silent sacrifice behind the strategic advantage. Ethan stood at the edge of the lookout post. Below, Haven Ridge prepared for the future, not just surviving, adapting. His silver eyes watched the training grounds where soldiers practiced new tactics. His tactics, based on alien knowledge but executed with human hands. He had become what the situation required. Not human, not alien, something new, something necessary, a bridge between species, a living example of what cooperation could achieve, what sacrifice could preserve. The choice he made in the ruins wasn't about becoming a weapon, it was about becoming a connection. The Nexari knowledge in his mind didn't erase humanity, it gave humanity tools to survive. The synthesis was perilous, radical, but it worked. This offered a different vision of the future, not human versus alien, but coexistence through mutual learning. The Nexari had fallen to the Kryax, humanity was falling. Together they might stand. Different species sharing knowledge against a common destroyer. The combined wisdom ignited something durable in the survivors. A tradition of adaptability, of using what worked regardless of origin. Purpose shifted from mere survival to something larger. Hope became a strategy. Refusal to surrender became a tactical position. Ethan knew the Kryax would return. Their retreat was temporary. Their adaptability was legendary. But humanity would meet them differently next time. Not with fear, with understanding, with new capabilities born from alien experience. The war's horizon changed shape, no longer about defending what was, about building what could be. Redefined humanity meant embracing change while holding on to core values. Courage wasn't just about facing death. It was about facing transformation. His own changes continued. The physical alterations deepened. The mental integration became more complete. But his choices remained human. His reasons remained human. That difference defined everything. He worked with Dr. Voorhees on the training programs. They developed methods to share knowledge without requiring transformation. Distributed intelligence became the new defense model. Many minds working with better information, no single person bearing the full cost. The soldiers he trained looked at him with mixed expressions. Respect for what he knew, unease for what he represented. They saw the silver eyes, the precise movements, the unhuman efficiency. They understood the price he paid for their survival. Ethan accepted this distance. It was part of the balance. The ethical equation required sacrifice on multiple levels. Personal connection became part of what he traded for strategic advantage. The settlement continued to evolve. Engineers modified weapons based on Kryax weaknesses. Tacticians developed new formations. Everyone worked with better understanding of their enemy. The bridge between species strengthened with each adaptation. Ethan's role solidified. Advisor, strategist, warning. He represented both the power of alien knowledge and the peril of seeking it. His very presence taught the most important lesson. Some weapons cost more than others. The future remained uncertain. The Kryax would return stronger, more adapted, but humanity would be ready. Not with despair, with hardened resolve, with better tools, with understanding born from sacrifice. The story answered its own question through action. When a soldier trades his humanity for power, he doesn't necessarily lose everything. He gains a different perspective, becomes a different kind of protector. The transformation changes what he is, but not why he fights. That distinction makes all the difference. Ethan noticed his reflection in a polished metal surface. His eyes glowed with steady silver light even in full daylight. The iridescence had spread to his skin, giving it a faint shimmer when light hit certain angles. His movements became more efficient, less human. He reached for objects without looking. His hand always found the right grip, the right pressure. The integration matured daily. Power grew alongside distance from humanity. He could hear conversations 3 rooms away, see heat signatures through thin walls, process tactical data faster than any computer. But ordinary human interactions felt increasingly foreign. The sound of laughter sometimes seemed illogical. The taste of food became merely nutritional data. He negotiated constantly with the Nexari consciousness. The voices remained present, sometimes advisors offering strategic insights, sometimes competitors pushing for control. Their priorities differed from human concerns. They valued efficiency over compassion, victory over connection. Human memories became his anchor. He deliberately recalled simple moments, the feel of rain on his face as a child, the sound of his mother's voice, the weight of his first command insignia. These memories felt increasingly distant, like stories about someone else, but they remained his tether to what he had been. Alien experiences expanded his perspective. The Nexari memories showed him star systems humanity hadn't mapped. Cultures that thought in patterns rather than words. Ways of being that had nothing to do with individual identity. The universe felt larger. Humanity felt smaller. Colonel Hayes watched him carefully. She used his abilities for strategic planning, sent him on reconnaissance missions no human could survive, but she maintained distance. Her eyes showed calculation mixed with unease. She valued what he could do while fearing what he was becoming. Dr. Voorhees documented the changes. She measured the iridescence in his skin, recorded the dual tones in his voice, studied the way he processed information. She sought understanding without replication. Her notes contained both fascination and warning. Seelan remained nearby, guardian of the Nexari legacy in this new hybrid. She observed the integration with clinical interest. Sometimes she offered guidance when the voices grew too loud. Sometimes she simply watched. Her stone-like face showed no judgment, only observation. Scouts reported Kryax movements beyond the mountains. They were regrouping, adapting, learning from their defeat at Haven Ridge. Their tactics showed new variations. Adjustments to counter the Resistance's improved strategies. Future confrontations would test everything. Whether synthesis could defeat pure destruction, whether a hybrid consciousness could outthink a pure military machine. The answers would come through battle, through blood. Through continued transformation, Ethan's physical changes deepened. His skin developed subtle patterns when he concentrated. His eyes sometimes flickered with colors beyond human vision. His body required less sleep. Less food, it became more efficient. More alien. The transformation's full consequences remained unknown. Each day revealed new capabilities, new distances from human experience. The integration continued its slow, steady work, rewriting cells, restructuring neural pathways, creating something new from human and alien. He stood watch at the perimeter. His enhanced senses scanned the horizon. The Nexari consciousness whispered threat assessments. His human memories whispered of home. The balance between them felt fragile, temporary. The war continued its slow burn. The Kryax would return. The confrontation would come, and Ethan would stand between humanity and destruction. Changed, different, but still fighting for the same reasons. The full cost of his choice remained to be seen. The final shape of his transformation, unwritten. Messages traveled through the surviving human networks. Stories passed from settlement to settlement. Commander Ethan Marlowe became a name people spoke in quiet tones. The soldier who drank alien essence to save his people. The details varied with each telling. But the core remained. A choice made in ruins. A transformation accepted. Some saw him as hero, a symbol of sacrifice for the greater good. They pointed to Haven Ridge still standing, to the new tactics that were saving lives, to the knowledge that was turning the war. They spoke of courage in the face of impossible choices. Others saw him as warning, a cautionary tale about going too far. They noted his silver eyes, his unnatural movements, the distance growing between him and ordinary humans. They asked what good was survival if you lost what made you human in the process. Most treated him as necessary mystery, a puzzle without clear answers. They used the strategies he developed. They followed the tactical guides he created. But they maintained careful distance. They accepted the advantages while remaining wary of the cost. His example created debates about humanity's possible futures. Some argued for embracing change, for adapting whatever tools worked regardless of origin. Others argued for preserving human purity, for finding ways to win without becoming something else. The Nexari Covenant entered human strategic thinking. Once unknown, now studied. Military planners analyzed their battle records against the Kryax. Engineers examined their technological approaches. The alliance possibility shifted from theoretical to practical. Human culture began absorbing alien concepts. Soldiers used Nexari tactical terms. Engineers designed with Nexari principles. The blending happened gradually, almost unnoticed, a quiet incorporation of useful ideas regardless of source. The bridge Ethan represented offered new paths, ways of thinking about the enemy, ways of organizing defenses, ways of seeing the universe, possibilities that hadn't existed before his transformation. But the price he paid served as constant reminder: his silver eyes, his precise movements, his growing distance from human concerns. Power required sacrifice. That lesson echoed through every settlement, through every decision made with his knowledge. His choice became a turning point, not just in the war, in human history. The moment when survival meant embracing the alien, when victory required becoming something new. The old categories of human and alien began to blur. The transformation continued its work. His skin developed more pronounced iridescence. His thought processes became increasingly efficient. Human emotions felt more distant. Alien perspectives felt more natural. He trained new soldiers, developed new strategies. His teaching spread through the resistance networks. His legacy grew with each life saved, each battle won. But the man himself became less visible, more isolated. The cost showed in small moments. When someone offered him food and he analyzed its nutritional content rather than enjoying its taste. When someone laughed and he calculated the sound waves rather than sharing the joy. The human experiences were becoming data points. His choice saved countless lives. It changed the course of the war. It offered hope where there had been none. But the price was paid daily, in the loss of simple human connection, in the gradual fading of what he had been. The stories would continue. The legend would grow, but the man would continue his slow transformation, becoming more Nexari, less human. The choice in the ruins had saved his people, but it was still consuming him. The terrifying price was paid in increments, each day, each moment. Each remembered human experience that became more distant. Ethan watched his reflection in the dark surface of the monitoring screen. Silver light glowed where his eyes should be. His movements looked too precise, too efficient. Not the relaxed posture of a human at rest. Every motion served clear purpose, no wasted energy. The physical changes continued. His skin showed faint patterns when he concentrated, like circuits beneath the surface. The Nexari integration deepened with each passing day. His cells reconfigured themselves. His nervous system adapted to handle the alien consciousness. He felt less connection to ordinary human concerns. The daily worries of the settlement seemed small, distant. His awareness stretched toward cosmic patterns. Star movements, energy flows, things that mattered on a larger scale, yet memories of his soldiers kept him grounded. Corporal Jenks taking that plasma burst, Private Val's jokes. These human experiences held emotional weight the Nexari consciousness couldn't match. They reminded him why he'd made the choice in the ruins. The chorus of voices in his mind offered constant tactical brilliance. They calculated probabilities, analyzed threats, provided perfect solutions to combat problems. But they brought emotional distance. They saw people as assets, resources, numbers on a board. He had to consciously choose human connection over alien efficiency. When a young soldier showed fear before patrol, Ethan made himself stop. Listen. Offer reassurance. The Nexari consciousness suggested assessing the soldier's combat effectiveness instead, calculating whether he should be left behind. Seelan observed this constant negotiation. Symbiosis is not a state to achieve, she said. Her multi-toned voice held no judgment. It is an action to maintain. Every moment, every decision. You balance what you were with what you have become. The balance required constant effort, like holding two strong currents in check. The Nexari consciousness pushed toward optimal outcomes. His human memories pulled toward compassionate choices. Neither side ever completely won. Neither completely lost. Humanity became not what he was, but what he chose to preserve. The deliberate acts of connection, the remembered feelings, the reasons behind his original choice. These became his anchors against the expanding alien awareness. He walked through the settlement at dusk. His enhanced senses detected every conversation, every heartbeat, every rustle of clothing. The data threatened to overwhelm the human experience beneath it. He saw a mother comforting her child. The Nexari consciousness analyzed their nutritional status, their potential usefulness, their probability of survival. Ethan made himself see the human moment instead. The comfort, the love, the simple connection. His humanity persisted through daily choice, through conscious action. His biology had changed, his thought processes had changed, but his decisions remained his own. His reasons remained human. The question wasn't whether he retained humanity, but what humanity meant when biology no longer defined it. Perhaps it lived in the choices made, the connections maintained, the reasons for fighting. He looked at his hands. The skin showed that faint iridescence again. The physical transformation continued, unstoppable. But when he closed his eyes, he could still remember the feel of human rain on human skin. The memory felt distant, but it remained. A choice to remember, a choice to remain connected. However faint the connection became, scouts reported increased Kryax activity beyond the northern mountains. Patrol patterns showed new variations. Attack formations displayed unfamiliar coordination. The enemy had learned from Haven Ridge. They adapted. Intelligence analysts studied the patterns. The Kryax understood human Nexari collaboration now. Their tactics shifted to counter it. They deployed new sensor arrays designed to detect non-human neural activity. Their units moved in more unpredictable patterns. The next attack would not repeat previous mistakes. Ethan trained resistance fighters on the updated training grounds. He demonstrated Kryax vulnerabilities with precise movements. His silver eyes missed nothing. He showed them how to exploit the half-second delay in the new targeting systems, how to use terrain against the adapted patrol patterns, how to fight smarter against a learning enemy. He shared knowledge without requiring transformation. No essence, no permanent changes, just information, tactical manuals based on Nexari experience but executable by human hands and minds. The distributed intelligence model became their strength. Many minds working with better understanding. No single point of failure. Human ingenuity combined with alien experience. Engineers developed new shield disruptors based on Kryax energy frequencies. Tacticians created fluid response plans that adapted to changing conditions. The settlement learned to think like the enemy while remaining fundamentally human. Haven Ridge transformed from a desperate fortress to a symbol of resilient adaptation. People no longer simply endured attacks. They anticipated them. They prepared. They innovated. The mindset shifted from survival to strategic defense. Everyone knew the Kryax would return. Scouting reports confirmed it. Larger forces, better equipment, tactics designed specifically to counter their new capabilities. The victory at Haven Ridge had bought time, not peace. Ethan stood watch at the main gate. His enhanced senses tracked the horizon. The Nexari consciousness whispered threat assessments. New patterns, new dangers. The enemy evolved faster than expected. He looked at the soldiers he'd trained. They moved with more confidence. Their formations showed better coordination. Their weapons hit with greater precision. They had become what humanity needed to survive. Adaptable, resourceful, resilient. The promise remained unspoken but understood. They would face the returning threat together. With better tools, with better knowledge, with the hard-won experience of previous battles, the war had changed because one man made a terrible choice in a ruined facility. That choice provided the knowledge to fight back. It showed that humanity could adapt to survive even the most overwhelming threats. It proved that cooperation could create strength where isolation brought only defeat. The cost continued. Ethan's transformation deepened daily. His humanity persisted through choice rather than biology, but the strategic advantage he provided gave others a chance to remain fully human, while still fighting effectively. The future remained uncertain. The Kryaks would return stronger, more adapted, more determined. But humanity would meet them differently this time. Not with despair, with hardened resolve. With better tools. With understanding born from sacrifice, they would be ready. Ethan Marlowe's choice redefined what it means to be human when facing annihilation. He drank the alien essence knowing it would cost his former self. Yet through that sacrifice he preserved something vital, not just for himself but for all who survived. This story shows that humanity isn't something you lose in a single moment. It's something you choose day after day through your actions and your connections. Even as his body and mind transformed, his reasons remained human. Power came at a price, but the choice to remain human outlasted the change.